Got some cool news recently. My CPA watches my channel. Hi Rob. Something my regular viewers already know, but my new subscribers might not, is I can't read. But if I could, I'd buy Liquid Intelligence and read that. I'm kidding, I have a copy right here. Dave Arnold's award-winning book is truly a gift that keeps giving. Not only are there techniques, recipes, and loads of inspiration, there are items buried in these topics that you might miss if you're not paying attention. Case in point, the Dr. J. The Dr. J is tucked away at the bottom of page 271 and gets barely a mention. I stumbled upon it while researching milk washing for a failed video concept. Sorry, but there will not be a video on Actually, hold it. At some point I may come back to that. If you're unfamiliar with milk washing, the Reader's Digest version is it's a technique where you add booze to milk and maybe a little citric acid, let the milk curdle, and strain out the solids. This process serves two purposes. It imparts whey to the alcohol and strips color and certain flavors called polyphenols, which bind to the casein in the milk. The more astringent the polyphenol, the more it binds to the casein. It's the de facto process for clarifying milk punch, but it's also great for tea infusions, as the wash strips the tannins but leaves the tea flavor behind. But Arnold also advocates washing spirits without infusions. A lot of ink has already been spilled on this topic, but it's something that hadn't occurred to me before. And I wouldn't have thought much of it, except he mentions a cocktail he used to serve at Booker and Dax, which sounded incredible on paper, and I had to try it. Now there are two kinds of people in this world. People who enjoyed Orange Julius as a child, and people who had a deprived childhood. If you know, you know. For the uninitiated, Orange Julius was an 80s mall staple, and when I got one, which wasn't often, it was a good trip to the mall. It's a sweet, frothy, creamy orange-flavored drink, and the Dr. J is a riff on a daiquiri that mimics the texture and flavor. Making it's pretty straightforward, but first you'll need to science yourself three things: citric acid solution, milk-washed white rum, and acid-adjusted orange juice. Citric acid solution is a snap to make. Weigh 100 grams of water, add 15 grams of citric acid, and stir to dissolve. If you can't or don't want to use citric acid, lemon juice is a good substitute. Next up is milk-washed rum. To a liter container, add 125 ml of whole milk, then slowly pour 500 ml of white rum. It is possible to make smaller quantities, but if you try this drink, you will make it again, so you might as well make a larger batch to begin with. Give the milk rum a little stir and add 7 or 8 grams of citric acid, at which point the milk should start to curdle. If you're using lemon juice, add half an ounce, a little at a time, and stop once the milk breaks. Slowly stir again, but not so hard as to break up the curds. Last is the fun part. Crack a Steagall Rattler and get straining. This has to be done with a coffee filter, and for best results, move your straining rig to a new vessel once the rum turns clear. This may take a while, so you may need 2 Steagall Rattlers. If this sounds like a lot, it is, but believe me, one sip and it'll all be worth it. Only one homework assignment to go: acidulated OJ. Acidulation is a process by which you bring medium or low acid citrus juice to the same acidity as lemons or limes so that they can be substituted ounce for ounce in cocktails. My buddy Pete has made a couple of videos about this. I recommend you check them out. I'll link to one in the description. Using acid-adjusted OJ here is a brilliant move. Not only does it balance the cocktail, but since the original Orange Julius was made with frozen concentrate, it gets us closer to the flavor profile of the original beverage. But we're not using acid-adjusted OJ here. We're using super juice. So right now you might be wondering why I'm not using what's in the prescribed recipe. The reason I'm not using acid-adjusted OJ is because Nick, the creator of the Super Juice process, recently published his recipe for Super OJ to the Bar Expo Instagram for the first time, and I thought this would be the perfect drink to try it in. Nick's recipe does not have the same acidity as lime juice, but it does have more acidity than plain OJ, makes a fine substitute, and is a great excuse to get into the orange super juice game. I'm not going to show you how to make it because I've already made that video, but I'll put the recipe in the description. Back to the normie cam. So, time for ingredient roll call. Milk-washed white rum, super OJ, simple syrup, vanilla extract, and salt. Here's how you make this. To your tin, add 3/4 of an ounce each of super OJ and simple, 2 ounces of milk-washed rum, a drop of vanilla extract, and a pinch of salt. Shake with the biggest ice you have and strain into a coupe. Garnish? What's that? Incredible. The rum and orange flavor are front and center, the vanilla is just barely there, but what makes this drink such a knockout is the mouthfeel. So the big question is, does the end result justify the effort to milk wash the rum? In all caps, yes. I made one of these with regular rum and the difference in mouthfeel is immediately noticeable. There are lots of great cocktails out there, but the truly memorable ones have something that takes them to the next level, and the milk wash here does the trick. The effect is subtle, but I would say most people would know that this cocktail has an extra, I know not what. Also, the OJ I'm using isn't quite as acidic as lime, which makes the drink air just a bit sweet. I like it reminds me of having these as a kid, but if that's a concern for you, cut back on the simple by a hair. And if you're wondering if you can play around with other spirits in milk washing, have at it, but spirits that are rich in tasty polyphenols, like bourbon, scotch, or anything else that lives in a barrel before you get to enjoy it, might not benefit from the process, as the wash will strip away the characteristic woodiness that makes those spirits so delightful. But if you try it, let me know how it goes. If you do try this drink, let me know what you think in the comments, and if you want to see another video about a milk-washed cocktail, click here. But please do consider trying this. This drink is ridiculous.